This is an investigation into the strange murder of Kanika Powell, a 28-year-old woman who was shot to death in broad daylight in the hallway of her apartment building in Laurel, Maryland on August 28, 2008. Kanika worked for the government and had top security level clearance in a specialized role that she had been in for a few years. A couple of months prior to her death, Kanika had started a relationship with a woman who reportedly had a jealous ex-boyfriend. 1 week prior to her murder, Kanika told her friends and mother about some odd encounters she had. There had been multiple men showing up at her door on different days in different disguises, trying to access her apartment. On the day of her murder, Kanika had taken the day off from work to run some errands, but when she came back to her apartment, she was shot by an intruder in the hallway of her apartment building. There was no clear motive for Kanika's murder. Her belongings were found beside her, immediately ruling out a robbery, suggesting the attack was not random. Was Kanika murdered due to connections with her job, or was she the victim of a crime of passion? What happened to Kanika Powell? Kanika was a very ambitious young woman who joined the military 2 years after she graduated high school in the year 2000. She served in Korea for several years and then returned to the United States. She then began working as a top-secret clearance security contractor for the Applied Physics Lab at Johns Hopkins University. Kanika was very excited to have landed the job.
She was so excited. I just remember her saying she was going to be handling classified information and she may have to travel here and there to drop off something or drop off documents or pick up documents.
The lab is known to work on homeland security and military projects along with spacecraft design. It is thought that Kanika may have been responsible for reviewing security clearances at the lab, along with transporting expensive and important materials. Despite having an important job, Kanika was a friendly person and made friends easily. She had a goofy side to her personality and was very opinionated. Kanika was very close to her mother and always kept in touch with her. She lived at the Deerfield Run and Village Square North Apartments in Laurel, Maryland, which was considered to be a safe area at the time. However, the building did not have any security. Kanika's mother, Judy Forrest, received a strange phone call from her daughter, in which she sounded upset and anxious. Kanika said that a man had just knocked on her door, claiming to be from the FBI. The man knew Kanika by name and requested assistance with an investigation. This man was not from the FBI, however, and had presented Kanika with a fake badge through the peephole. Kanika became suspicious and did not answer the door. The man was African American and was wearing a heavy North Face jacket. Strange for someone to be wearing such a heavy jacket for that time of year, with the average temperature being 81 degrees Fahrenheit. The man ended up walking away when he realized that Kanika wasn't going to answer the door. Kanika watched the man exit the building and then saw a red car drive away. She later called the FBI to find out whether they had sent anyone to her home. The FBI informed her that they hadn't and that they don't send loan officers to people's houses. If it was an FBI agent, they would have left a card with their contact details. Kanika then called the police. The police searched her apartment complex and found nothing. Kanika told her mother that she thought she heard another voice telling the man to exit in the other direction, suggesting he wasn't alone. She was extremely shaken by the incident and sent an email around to her family and friends warning them about these nefarious men. After the incident, Judy and Kanika's friend Ayana tried to convince her to stay with them for a few days out of concern for her safety. Kanika was stubborn and refused to be driven out of her own home. She told them she planned on getting a security system and some protection from the army base. Another man knocked on Kanika's door, claiming to be from UPS. He called Kanika's name and said he had a package for her. Kanika told him to leave the package at the door. Apparently, the man went to get the package from his vehicle but never returned. Kanika's cousin, who lived across the street, saw the man trying to deliver the package. He was wearing what appeared to be a FedEx shirt, but she did not see any sign of a FedEx truck anywhere near the apartment complex. By this point, Kanika was convinced that she was being stalked. She would come home from work and see cigarette butts right outside her front door. Kanika was confused as to why she was being targeted. She had not had any altercations with anyone and had not given anyone a reason to harm or follow her. At 7:30 a.m., there was another man at Kanika's door, under the guise of delivering a package. Kanika did not answer the door and the man walked away. Kanika decided not to go into work that day, as she had planned to take a trip to Atlanta that weekend. She had some errands to run and took her car to the mechanic for a service. Upon returning home, Kanika was met by an intruder in the hallway of her apartment. Before she had a chance to react, she was shot 5 times with a handgun. The neighbors heard gunshots but did not see anyone leave the building. One resident opened his door and smelt gunpowder. He looked down and saw Kanika's body lying in a pool of blood and then called 911. Kanika was still alive when paramedics arrived, but doctors were unable to stop the excessive bleeding and Kanika was pronounced dead the following afternoon. No murder weapon was found. However, police were able to confirm a handgun was used to kill Kanika. On August 22nd, Kanika mentioned to her friend Ayana that she had to tell her something and that they would discuss it when she saw her on her birthday. The conversation never happened, however, as Kanika was preoccupied with the fake FBI incident. This left Ayana wondering what Kanika wanted to tell her. Despite having a job that required top-secret level security clearance, police do not think that was a motivating factor for Kanika's murder. Kanika lived in Laurel, which was close to Washington, D.C., and there were many people that lived in the area that had similar types of clearances. Kanika didn't have a boyfriend or any exes that would be deemed suspicious. She had some friends and no known enemies. The men who were seen at Kanika's apartment the week prior to her murder could not be identified by police. According to Kanika's friend Ayana, Kanika had started to hang out with new people a couple of months before she died. She appeared to have a new girlfriend whom her mother met, but nobody in Kanika's circle of friends knew this woman very well.
I know that Kanika has started hanging with some new people, a new friend group outside of our normal friend group. And me personally, I'm not the one that gravitates to new people. So, I didn't hang with them at all. I never really hung out with them.
Kanika's girlfriend was going to join her in Atlanta for the Pride Festival that weekend. The only people that would have known Kanika took the day off work were those she worked with, her mother and her girlfriend. Those at Kanika's work would not have known what Kanika was doing on her day off. According to Kanika's mother, Judy, Kanika's girlfriend appeared to be the only other person besides herself that knew when and where she was going on August 28th.
I know that new friend she was talking to, I think she had told her she was going to get her car serviced because she wasn't going to work that day. They shot Kanika right there before she could even get in her apartment around 11 in the morning. So I'm trying to figure out who knew she was home.
There was a serial killer by the name of Jason Scott, who was a UPS driver that killed 2 people and is suspected to have killed 3 more. He attended the same high school as Kanika and was active around the time that she was killed. Scott was ruled out by police as a suspect because he was not in the area at the time Kanika was murdered, and Kanika's murder did not fit his MO. Scott murdered mothers and their daughters and appeared to murder randomly. He also robbed his victims. Because Kanika had not been robbed and she does not fit the profile of Scott's other victims, it is unlikely he murdered her. Kanika's belongings were found beside her and she was not sexually assaulted, suggesting that this was not a random murder or a crime of opportunity. Another murder occurred about 2.5 months after Kanika's death, which has led many to speculate that they are related. Sean Green was shot dead while he was stopped at a traffic light 30 minutes from where Kanika lived. He also had a top-secret security clearance and worked for the National Counter-Terrorism Center in Virginia. Police have said Sean's death is not related to Kanika's. Sean worked in IT and handled sensitive information, and there was nothing in his life that would have made him a target. He was quiet and did not have any crazy exes or enemies. Kanika and Sean worked in completely separate places, and many people with top-level security clearances live in Maryland. Having a top-level clearance means you have access to compartmentalized sections of information. It is for this reason that many have suggested that it is unlikely that either Kanika or Sean worked at a level high enough to expose them to life-threatening material. The security classification system for federal employees contradicts this assumption, however. It states that the information employees with this clearance are exposed to can cause grave damage to national security. Were Kanika and Sean killed to protect a national security secret? Kanika's girlfriend had an ex-boyfriend who was jealous of Kanika. Kanika had met this man a few times in which he made it clear that he did not like her.
They just said that he just had these weird looks about him, that he wasn't a very friendly person. They weren't very friendly looks. They didn't get very good vibes from him. I don't know. I never saw the person, never saw the guy, never spoke to him.
It is thought that this man may have had something to do with Kanika's murder. However, this man was not any of the stalkers that she saw. This does not mean that he did not hire people to stalk and kill her. There appeared to be a growing sense of urgency about Kanika's death, due to the increased frequency of the stalking just before her murder. The timing of Kanika's murder suggests that the ex-boyfriend may have been afraid of her going to Atlanta with his ex-girlfriend. But why the convoluted approach of having someone attempt to enter her apartment? Why use the same failed approach 3 times? It appears there had not been much research done prior to the murder attempts, suggesting Kanika's murder was not a professional hit. What doesn't make sense, though, is that Kanika had only been seeing this woman for about a month or 2. So why would this man kill over a casual relationship? Was he just an unhinged ex-lover? Or is there something more to the story? The fact that the men involved in stalking Kanika could not be identified, and that the killer was not seen by any of the neighbors seems strange. Given the incompetence involved in attempting to kill her, either these men were extremely lucky or they had help. The question is, who helped them? It may be possible that Kanika denied someone a security clearance and was killed for it, or saw something she wasn't supposed to. If this was the case, the amateur approach to the murder doesn't make sense. Not only were the stalking incidences fraught with error, but the actual murder was risky as well. The perpetrator risked being seen by neighbors while waiting in the hallway, and then risked being seen after firing 5 gunshots. This suggests that the stalking and ex-boyfriend may have actually been a red herring to disguise a professional hit. A professional hitman could simply break into Kanika's apartment and kill her in a manner that was quiet and quick to ensure he could get away undetected. But then it would be obvious that it was a professional job. If the hit looked too professional, it may have drawn attention to those who wanted her dead. The person or people who killed Kanika knew that she would not be out for the whole day and had an idea of when she would return. The fact that no one saw any of the stalkers, that the weapon was never found, and that the killer was able to slink away in broad daylight suggests a certain level of professionalism. Kanika had recently moved apartments within the same complex. In 2008, she moved to a new unit and had not been living there for very long. Her previous unit had a security system. However, she had not had time to install a system in her new apartment. Did the killer know this and exploit this fact? Even though Kanika had only known her new friends for about a month or 2 prior to her death, none of them showed up to the hospital or her funeral. Who were these new friends? Were they patsies placed to monitor Kanika's movements? Was it a coincidence that these people came into her life just before her death and then suddenly disappeared?
The new friends that Kanika was hanging with, none of them showed up to the hospital. None of them showed up to the funeral from what I can remember from the funeral. They were non-existent after this moment.
Was the murder of Kanika staged to look like the work of a sloppy amateur, to disguise the fact that it was a highly trained professional? Was the ex-boyfriend a killer or a perfect suspect to pin the murder on?
At this moment, we do not have a person of interest in the murder of Kanika Powell.
When her friends were coming over, and my nieces and them, and they were saying, who they had suspected to be involved, that it was going to be a slam dunk case. They was going to go get this guy, arrest him, and he was going to be charged for the murder of my daughter. And it did not happen and has not happened.
Was the secret that Kanika was going to tell Ayanna related to her job? Ayanna and Judy said that Kanika took her job very seriously and that she never spoke about it. Did Kanika have information that could cause grave danger to national security? Why was Kanika shot 5 times and her belongings left behind? Was it a crime of passion or a professional hit to ensure she would never talk? Kanika devoted her entire working life to serving her country. Why was there hardly any media coverage about this case? If you have any information about the murder of Kanika Powell, please call 1866 411 TIPS